Welcome to JRS Tech Talk. I'm your host Jitendra Tripathi, and today basically we are going to talk about the business challenges and when we are doing the implementation, what kind of a mistake we have seen from the end user side or from the partner side, and how we can recover if any kind of a project is fail, okay, and what kind of a methodology we need to follow for the implementation, okay. And we will also discuss about when we do the implementation, what CFO need, what IT manager need, what end user need. Okay, so today I have with me Mr. Vijay Khurana. He is one of the successful implementer. He has a good experience in Dynamic 365 finance and operation. Okay, he has served more than 70 plus customers in his experience. He's a good implementer. He's a good founder, and he motivates a lot to other people as well to do the practice for the Dynamic 365, and he has a very exciting journey in Dynamics. So now I would like to welcome to Mr. Vijay. Hi Vijay.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Jitendra. Thanks for such a lovely introduction.
Okay, so you can tell something about your journey in Dynamics, okay?
Okay, so basically, I'll try to introduce myself with Dynamics flavor. So I am the co-founder for Tech Software Consulting, a global company primarily based out of Noida, Dubai, Singapore, and USA. By profession, I am a chartered accountant. So I started my journey after CA, after completion of my CA, I started my journey with Dynamic 365 F&O. At that point of time, it was AX 2012. So 2009, 2012, then D365 FO. And then I moved on to more of, I would say, the complete D365 package. I worked with Dynamic 365 CRM, like the customer engagement side of it. I have led the project for Business Central, LS Retail. So now I reached to a level where I try to consult and formulate strategy for the implementations, how implementation should go, what should be the roadmap of the implementation. There is one common term I always use, which is my most favorite, is the rescue projects. We always try to do a rescue project which somebody has failed or somebody has burnt hand and is not very happy with the Dynamic 365. So we try to work on those projects, especially with the rescue projects where customer is not happy with the solution, because Dynamic 365 has that capability that a lot of ERPs still are not in that phase. So I found that because it's a Microsoft ERP, it's quite old now, very common throughout the globe, and Microsoft is very focused now on Dynamic 365. You are getting, like with the cloud, they're getting updates like a weekly or a monthly or a bi-weekly updates you are getting, right? So with time, Microsoft has changed the history of Dynamic 365, and I firmly believe that this is something which can help all the organizations, irrespective of the size, to automate their business, to make it a bigger, I would say, a case for everyone. So that is what my perspective about Dynamic 365. And as I already introduced myself, TechTree, so this is about me and the organization.
Thank you. So I have noticed that you are the chartered accountant. Okay,
Yes.
that's really good. And because when we are talking with the chartered accountant, okay, they understand more into the finance.
Right.
They understand more into the taxation side. So for all the chartered accountant, finance and the taxation is the first love.
Absolutely.
So your first love is a Dynamics, or your first love is a finance?
I would say my first love is consulting, right? See, being a CA, it's not just the finance or accounting, correct? Yeah. Even if you become a CA, you are doing either a stat audit or a tax audit, which traditionally you are telling the client how to improve, how to automate, right? But with technology, things have changed. So I realized that at very early age, when I was doing the internship, I realized at that point of time that technology plays a very major role. So one of my clients where I was doing the internship, they were using an ERP, and then they had another software they were implementing for fixed assets. So I think that was the moment something has inherited in myself that technology can change. So previously, if we go back to the historic methods, we were still maintaining, like, take an example of fixed asset register. We were maintaining in Excel, right? But that software, the software name, if I remember correctly, was FAMS, Fixed Asset Management System. But that was very beautifully designed. The reports were just one click away. The data was maintained like perfectly. And the project I was doing at that point of time was capitalization project. So big malls and shopping centers, those type of like the capitalization value of 1,000 crore, 2,000 crore, those kind of companies has to do it because of their IT audit and everything. So at that point of time, I realized that technology with the flavor of finance is the key which one has to learn. So my love, I would say, is the consulting with the flavor of technology.
Okay, so when your love is a consulting, so I believe that you have consulted a lot of businesses.
Yes.
Okay, during the implementation or when you are doing the chartered accountancy.
Right.
Okay, so what kind of a challenges you have seen in the business, like so where you have put your consulting that they've improved it, and what kind of a challenges you have seen?
See, if it has to be bifurcated based on the region, okay, I would say, see, I'll take an example of India as a segment, okay. In India, if I compare 10 years back situation and today's situation, so after COVID, a lot of things have changed. If you see before COVID, and if you see the traditional business, the old generation, I would say, they were still not very convinced with the ERP, why ERP is required. The first answer will come like, we are managing 100, 200 crore business without any ERP, just with the basic accounting system, right? But the new generation, I think, which is coming, is taking care of with the automation. They are like, it is becoming more process oriented rather than person oriented. And that is how the ERP need is evaluating, right? So this is one aspect I would say. Then I'll talk about specific challenges. So there are a lot of challenges when it comes to, first of all, mindset has to be changed, right? It's typically a paradigm shift from, I would say, a manual work to an automated work. So if you compare the previous scenarios, people were still happy to maintain it in Excel, on papers, but now everything people are looking as a digital platform, right? Everything should be there. The mobile phone, I mean, if you ask me, I want to approve everything on my mobile phone. I don't want to go even on my laptop now, right? Because that is the quickest mode I can do it. So that's how I think I'm looking at it. The challenge, again, the biggest challenge is the thought which has to be changed. It was something else, it is something else now, but we still have a long way to go. So that thought has to be changed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So because you was talking about there's a generation gap. Okay. So
I would say there was.
So there was a generation gap. The previous was
right.
Generation, they are more dependent on the manual
Right.
work, on the Excel file. But now the new generation is adopting the ERP.
Exactly.
Okay, and that generation gap we will not talk about in particular in India. It's a global one.
It's a global one.
It's a global gap is there. Okay, and what I have seen is there's a lot of ERP in the market, in the global
Right.
market. Okay, so but when we are talking about why the global ERP is important, not and how big market is. Okay.
See, if you ask me, there's no comparison. Okay, so the market leaders, let's say Dynamic 365, I treat as one of the market leaders. There are other like SAP, Oracle. These are the market leaders, right? And then there are homegrown ERPs. I'm not discouraging homegrown ERPs, first of all, but if you compare, there is drastic difference. So if let's say, for an example, I have a customer who is based out of 15 countries, okay, globally. So you'll find very less ERPs which are available at multi-country situations, right? Because every country has their own localization, taxes has to be there, laws has to be, like for example, India needs a law that the database has to be stored at Indian local databases. US has different laws, Singapore has different laws, Gulf has different laws. So every country has different laws. So you will have very less ERPs who will have compliant with all of the countries. So by default, most of the ERPs eliminate at that level. Now, the global ERPs, they are focused. When I'm saying focused, they release their patches very, very quickly. Like, I'll take an example of Business Central. So if I take a previous version, Navision rollout, like Navision changes will come 2012, then 2016. That was the case. So it took 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to come with a new version of it. But now with Business Central, it's like a bi-weekly update.
Yeah.
And it's an auto update. Like you do not need to even depend on the partner. You do not need any technical capability. It's like a Windows update. Automatically you will get an email. It will auto update your server, and that is how it is, right? The things are very, very fast. Now the changes, and that's the only thing which has to be adopted by every organization. You should be ready to understand that the change is going to happen very fast, and you have to adapt that change very fast. So once that is done, probably you are into the game by default. So global ERP is definitely, I mean, you cannot compare with the homegrown ERP. So once, and in fact, I have seen a lot of case studies where initially, because maybe the budget issues or whatever, people have gone to the homegrown ERPs, and probably after 2 years, 3 years, they are migrating to the global ERP.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that is how I think this is how it is working.
Okay, so because you are doing the implementation and you are doing the consulting to the business, okay. So if you wanted to consult to any of the company, okay, for the implementation, then what would be your advice how they can start the implementation so that the implementation can be the successful?
Okay, so if you ask me, first of all, we all have studied this somehow in class 11th or 12th called SWOT analysis. Strength, weakness, opportunity, threat, right? And whatever the size of the company, you can any day do your SWOT analysis. Everybody knows their strength, their weakness, what is the opportunity, what is the threat. Before starting the ERP, write down your SWOT analysis. Like, for example, I know my data is right. See, everybody needs ERP, doesn't just help you to get the ERP, right? You have to finalize which ERP you need to buy. What is your goal? What is your aim to implement in ERP? So if you don't work out on your points, then it is very, very tough. What you want to achieve, you have to write it down, right? So, and then how it will get done. So for example, I am very frustrated with my financial data. So I know I need to fix my accounting aspect of it. Then I need to get my reports. I know I need to have the analytics part of it. So I need to note down. So the first thing which in any project we sign, we finalize the SOW, scope of work. So typically that scope of work can be finalized once the customer knows what they want. So if they can document like what they want, if a customer by default a CFO, CEO or operations side, CEO, if they can note down what exactly they want from an ERP or any of the software, probably that is the first thing, the first battle which they have won already, right? So if we can do the SWOT analysis, note down all the points, then probably I think it's already half in.
Okay, so that can be the pillar for the implementation. You can
that
say
is the baseline document, and that is the foundation layer, I would say, of the ERP implementation, because I believe everything flows from hierarchy, right? If the CEO knows what he want to done, what he want to achieve, that will flow to CFO, CEO, CTO, right? If they understand it correctly, that will go to the user level. And from the user level, it will go to the requirement gathering sessions or finalizing the SOW. So everything flows from hierarchy. So if that is done, that will become my foundation layer. And if foundation layer is very, very strong, the building is going to be strong for sure.
Okay, so if let's suppose I have my own company, okay, and I wanted to implement ERP.
Okay.
So what would be your recommendation? Whether I need to go with any kind of a partner, or I should build my own team to do the implementation?
Okay. See, SWOT analysis, it's only you who can do, right? Because you can tell what is the issue, what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve, what is going in your mind. The SWOT analysis you have to do first. Then implementation should be a partner role. This is what I feel, because a partner, see, it's like I have a fever. Shall I take just a normal medicine from my home, let's say Dolo, or just a paracetamol, or shall I go to a specialist or a doctor, right? So preferably if it is a small issue, right? If you have just a fever like 99.1 and you know that Dolo or paracetamol can serve your purpose, you will take that medicine, it's done, right? And next day, if the fever has still not gone, if you still have fever, let's say yesterday you was having 99.1, you have taken paracetamol, today it is 100. What you will do? You will go to doctor, right? To a specialist. So that is the same ideology you should follow for any of the implementations or digital transformation. It's like you can do by yourself, right? Then the specialist, the consultant will actually play a major role to make it more successful, more automated. Because they have seen, they have implemented it at thousands of places already. So that's the difference, I think, which will be there.
Okay. So when you were talking about, because recently we were discussing about the global ERP is
Right.
acceptable. But whenever we are doing implementation, there's a one myth. So the global ERP or the like I'm talking about the Dynamics is only for the bigger organization. Is it a myth or no?
No, I think it's not true. So there are two ERPs from Microsoft. As I begin my the introduction, there are two ERPs. One is FinOps, which is now named as Finance and Supply Chain Management, and another is Business Central. So the Business Central is typically targeted for SMEs, and FinOps or Finance and Supply Chain Management is for, I would say, a bigger setup or a bigger organization. And it can be used vice versa, but this is a generic perception that you can use Business Central for an SMEs and FinOps for the bigger or the Fortune 500 companies. The major reason of the categorization, because the license cost is like 1/3, and if it is, let's say, Business Central is 100 rupees, then FinOps is 300 rupees. That's the reason of the classification. But it is still used vice versa. I know there are a lot of SMEs who are still using FinOps, and there are a lot of big organizations who are still using Business Central. So that is a generic perception that we can bifurcate in that scenario.
Okay, so Business Central we cannot use in a bigger organization. Is it?
No, that's what I'm saying. I know a lot of bigger organizations who are still using Business Central. But for a bigger setup, FinOps is a better choice. That is, if you compare the features, preferably, the Business Central will work on your 90% or 80% of the requirement, 20% you have to customize. Whereas FinOps will by default have that 20% of the scenarios, you don't have to customize. That's out of the box available. And there are a few modules, like take an example of transportation management, right? So for a bigger setup, the FinOps is a better choice. That's what I'm saying.
So personally, I prefer it like when we have a complex processes. When we are talking about the complex processes, definitely we need a lot of features.
Correct.
Okay, so maybe that time Business Central cannot fulfill the requirement.
Absolutely.
And finance and operations. So it will not depend on whether you are a bigger organization or the small organization. Depend on which
Absolutely.
ERP can fulfill your requirement.
Absolutely.
That is the more important, because
So
if you have a very simple process, even though you are a very bigger organization, but you have very simple process, your volume of a transition is less, then we will recommend that you can go with the Business Central.
So again, I mean, I completely agree with you. It's a general perception. So whenever an organization grows, by default, your auditor style will change, right? You will change, like the internal auditor will start. You will have a lot of compliances started coming in, right? For example, right now it's the wave of IPOs, right? So you have a lot of expectation set basis. Let's say if you're going for an IPO, these are 10 reports which has to come. For those reports, these processes has to be set. If those processes has to be that has to be tightly integrated with each department, right? So those kind of scenarios has to be checked. Most of the things, again, it's as you rightly said, it's just not the size of the organization. It's more of process, how they want to achieve it. Basis that the customer can decide. And when you meet customer, when you understand their requirements, probably at our level of the understandings where we have already done hundreds of the implementation, we can tell at the first level itself, at the first meeting itself, whether the FinOps is a better fit or a Business Central is a better fit.
That's come under the consulting.
Yes.
Okay, and you mentioned that you did more than 100 implementation.
Right.
So I'm 100% sure that you have seen a lot of mistakes done from the partner side or done from the end user side or the companies. So what are the mistakes you have seen, and if you can highlight some of the mistakes?
See, there are two type of mistakes, I would say. One is the customer has to communicate their requirement very, very clearly. Okay. I always say don't sign the document until you are satisfied.
Yes.
But if you have signed the document, take the ownership of that. There can mistake happen from at any place, right? But the whole idea is be attentive, be clear, be concise when you're giving the requirement and when you are signing that requirement document, right? Because that will become a baseline document for consultant also. And vice versa, from the consultant level, it's the same suggestion. Ask your questions very, very clearly.
Yes.
Sometimes it happens that consultant has understood the requirement, client has given their requirement, document has signed, and while doing the CRP or UAT, client realize, oh, this was not my requirement.
Yes, it happens.
So, I mean, it can happen. It can still happen, right? Whatever you document, because see, a person when they start visualizing, then only they can tell whether it is right or wrong. and they will start visualizing only once they see the system.
Correct.
That will actually come into the CRP and UAT phase. But the difference should not be like Earth and Moon. There can be a difference, but the difference should not be like Earth and Moon, right? I mean, one should not go as a difference as a pole apart. Correct. So there can be minor difference, and for a couple of requirements, the difference can still be very huge, to be honest. But it should not be a different world altogether. That's what I'm trying to say. So this is one. Second is the data, which I feel is the major issue in every project I have built. The data migration is always going to be a challenging task. So one has to be very, very cautious while migrating the data from legacy system to ERP system. And this is irrespective of ERP. Whatever ERP you move, you have to migrate some of at least the master data from your legacy system to the ERP system, right? So the data has to play a very vital role. One has to be very, very cautious while playing the data, while uploading the data, while doing the sanity check, while handing over the data. So all of these points, one has to take care very, very well in detail.
That's correct, because as you said, when we are maintaining the document and we are signing the document, okay. And what personally I feel is, because when we are asking the questions, we are doing the analysis phase hardly 40 hours or 60 hours. And personally what I feel is within the 40 hours or 60 hours, even the users cannot explain each and everything to you, what they are doing on a regular basis. When they are explaining the process, they are explaining very high level process, but when they are doing the actual transition, that's the difference. Okay. And so here the consulting comes, okay. Because of that, we recommend that it's better to hire a perfect partner.
Correct.
Okay. So that they understand your requirement. Because if you are talking about the high level, if the consultant is having experience, they can understand, okay, this is the high level, but I know what actually you do.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's because when we are doing the CRP or when we are doing the UAT, the requirement can completely change.
Absolutely.
The reason is because you understand at the high level and you have delivered the high level, but you understand the high level and but if you have delivered during the delivery, you need to understand at the zero level as well. Okay. And the problem is sometimes we are discussing with only the stakeholders.
Correct.
We are not discussing with the end users. Okay. When we are discussing with the stakeholders, they have a different thought, they have a different view. But actually when we are discussing with the end user, they have very different perspective.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when we are talking about the documentation, okay, so documentation, the discussion, the analysis phase with the higher level as well as the lower level as well. So that you can understand each pain of each department, the pain of every users as well.
And my suggestion always, what I suggest always to my team is, go more agile rather than waterfall.
Correct.
Try to show them system as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Introduce the system as soon as possible. Make them independent, right?
Yes.
If a customer starts visualizing from first week, he does not have to wait for the 8th week to have the CRP or UAT happen, right? If he can, like for example, I still remember this very classic case. When I started my career, this was my first project. I was doing a CRP. So I was showing the payment process, how it is happening. So what I have done, I have selected a vendor. I was trying to pay the vendor. So the CFO came and she shouted on me. She said, Vijay, this is very old process. I want all the vendors list which is due. And I was very junior resource, I would say, at that point of time. But I realized why she was saying so. That if she has to look which vendor she has to pay, it is very painful task. She is having like 10,000 vendors. And out of 10,000 vendors, next week 5,000 vendors payments might have due, right? So she said, I need a feature where all the vendor dues will come automatically. I have to select which vendor to pay. Out of that, so that pick and choose I can do. So I realized where she was coming from. So I configured, in next 5 minutes, I configured the process of payment proposal. And I ran that. And then she was absolutely fine, right? So you have to step into the customer shoes. You have to understand their pain, but go more agile than waterfall. I mean, you should not stuck with one thought that, okay, this is the session, this is what it was discussed, I will show only this. No. Try to make customer expectation, try to understand what is their pain area, so that customer can, at the end of the customer has to be satisfied, right?
Yes.
They are implementing the ERP to automate their business. Correct. So the whole idea is that business should get automated. The transaction should get automated. The transaction time should get reduced. My internal checks points, those should get better, right? So the automation has to flow from the lowest level to the highest level, right? So that is, I think, the more consultant has to achieve that level to make more practice, more better scenarios, configure more better scenarios, understand customer more better. So, I mean, it's very common to say, or it's very easy to say, okay, I'll come back to you. But my only suggestion always to all the consultants is, always, if you have said I'll come back to you, please go back.
Yes.
Please tell them back.
Okay, so you were telling the story of the CFO. Okay,
Right.
the CFO came and he said that, Vijay, what are you doing? This is the very old process.
Correct.
Okay, so I just wanted to understand when we are doing the implementation, what CFO need from the system? What is his view?
Okay. See, what if you ask me, at least now, CFO typically just need their analytics, right? If I'm getting my daily dashboard on my mobile phone again, preferably on my laptop, I am more than happy. Until unless there is some violation, there is some escalation which is happening. That is at CFO level. If you drill down a little bit, then maybe at a financial controller level, or AP head, or a AR head, or a GL head level, right? At that point of time, they are more worried about their day-to-day transactions. So at a CFO level, if my dashboard is automated, which is actually a byproduct, if you ask me, if your processes are streamlined, then only that dashboard can be achieved. If your processes are not streamlined, you cannot, I mean, it's a simple rule, data in, data out, and the garbage in, garbage out, right?
Correct.
So if you want a report or analytics to come, you have to configure the system perfectly. If you have configured it perfectly, it will go hand in hand, right? You have to configure it perfectly. The transaction has to go smooth. Once the transaction will go smooth, automatically you will get your analytics. And it's not, when we are implementing nowadays, it's typically not just ERP implementation, right? It's bundle of services. It's Power BI. It's all of the financial reports. It's by default, I mean, though Microsoft is doing, but you are hosting that. So it's a bundle of services you are doing for customer. But end result, what management want to see, what CFO want to see, what CTO want to see is the analytics. And analytics can only come if the processes are automated, if the transactions are automated, and if the scenarios are more automated in terms of their operations, in terms of their finance, in terms of their accounting.
Okay. So if you, because you are talking about the CFO point of view, the IT manager point of view, what processes we need to follow. Okay, so sometimes, as per your experience, let's suppose companies following all the procedures, but still the project is failed. I hope that in your experience, you have some of the customers where the project got failed. I know one of the customer name as well, where you and me work together. Okay. Okay. So but still, so why the project is coming to the failure side or something like that? How we can recover it?
Right. See, as in the beginning, I told I love to do the rescue project. I'm very known for that now. So by default, if you ask me, there can be multiple reasons of a failure, right? It can be, I'll always say, I mean, it always goes hand in hand, right? You cannot only say customer's responsibility, it's equal responsibility of customer and partner.
Partners, correct.
Okay. A project can fail, right? It's like an exam, right? You are doing it, you are preparing it for the whole year. Even if you don't have, even if you have not achieved it, you can still retry to recover that, right? I have seen the projects where the consultant has upgraded the wrong balances or on the wrong date. They have not closed the financial year, right? So what to do? Now, see, there is a problem, but there is a solution to every problem. So if you are looking from a negative lens, then you will not be able to come out of it. Worst case, I'll take a worst case example. I have delivered those worst cases also where some customer has been implemented, it was failed, then I got introduced in between, then we have taken that rescue project and redelivered it. Worst case was they have to scrap everything and we have to reconfigure the system, we have to do the re-UAT and go live. That is the worst case. But I believe if any partner is working, probably your system is configured 60-70% correct. You don't have to go to this situation. This situation we have done because the customization done was wrong, right? So if we are using maximum of the standard system, probably either it is the data issue or the configuration issue. So configuration issue can also be corrected. The data issue can also be corrected. Again, I'm not going into that detail whose mistake it can happen. It can be customer mistake while giving the data. It can be partner mistake while uploading the data. But you cannot do that sanity check because one has shared the data, another has received the data. Normally partner take the sign off while uploading the data also, right? So let's not go into that. But whereas it can be anyone's mistake. But typically it's 3 types of mistakes which is very, very common. One is data mistakes, another is configuration mistake, third is customization mistake. So when you're choosing your partner, be very, very careful what is the strategy, how partner works. For partners, I always say, always rely on customer data, but take the sanity check from your side also. If the customer is giving the data, let's say for example, they have given the ledger balances, just check whether the total is matching or not, your trial balance is getting tallied or not, right? So if you do your basic checks at right point of time, this is for both project manager, customer project manager and partner project manager. If you do your sanity checks and escalate time to time wherever required, I don't think project is going to fail.
Okay. So basically, when we are talking about the project fail, and definitely a lot of project can be recovered. Okay, yeah. And so how will you measure the change management is impact of any of the successful implementation or the failure? How the change management play the important role in any of the implementation?
Change management is the vital role, I would say, because typically ERP, implementing an ERP itself is a change management, right? Let's say I'm using a traditional accounting system and I'm a 100-year-old organization. This is a very common case nowadays for implementation scenario. I'm 20 years, 30 years, 40 years old. I'm using an accounting system for many years, but now we have planned to implement to ERP. So this itself is a paradigm shift where we are thinking to migrate to an automated system, correct? For an end user who is working with the basic accounting system from last 30 years or 40 years, for him, it is very, very sensitive thing to say, okay, from tomorrow you have to work on an ERP. Because they have the fear that if ERP will automate everything, my job will go.
Yes.
But that's not true. Right now, you are doing major things to do the process, to do the entry. Whereas, once you implement the ERP, your data will go to, your time will go to analytics rather than doing the hard job, I would say, or a laborious job, right? Nowadays with AI kind of a stuff, you don't need to make the reports by yourself. System can design it for you, right? Correct. But somebody is still required who is having 30 years of experience, who can still analyze that report and give that MIS to management. Correct. So change management in terms of, I would say, it is the thought process one is having, but one has to come out of the negative thought of it. If we are still if we start looking, it's very common. Let's say, for example, if I look at the negative side of it, I will always have the negative side of it. But if I start looking at the positive side of it, I'll have just the positive side of it. So change management plays a very, very vital role. Everyone should be open. It's the fastest moving thing right now is the technology, and we have to adapt the technology. That is what I would say. And probably, I think if I feel our country's leadership, if you say, they are migrating like very fast on technology, correct? If you see India government portals nowadays, they have migrated very, very fast. Things are changing digitally very, very fast. So if let's say, I would say again, age is no bar, experience is no bar, a fresher or a beginner. Like if you see a newborn nowadays, right? They start their day with mobile phone.
Yes.
Correct. How? They have learned the technology, they have adapted the technology. And if you go, and if you see like the I would say our parents' age, they are also very adaptive with technology now, because that has become part of our daily ecosystem. Everybody knows how to swipe the reel, right? Even a 1-year toddler knows that. So we have to adapt the changes. So change management, I would say, play a very vital role, but leadership has to take care of that. Leadership has to be very firm, very responsible. And I would say they should be very, very communicative for everything, like how strategy should follow. So I think that is still a thing which can be managed.
Okay, so you have given the example of the government is they're adopting
Right.
the technology and other things, and you are doing the implementation. You did the implementation for EX 2009, 2012, 2003, then Dynamics 365 now, finance and operations. Okay, and how would you see the journey of the Dynamics? And now we are talking about the Copilot and the AI in Dynamics.
Oh,
So,
I think I give whole credit to Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella because things have changed drastically. So if you ask me, AX 2009, I have worked on AX 2009 by the way till last year. We have migrated that project recently on FinOps. But if I have to open that server, I mean, it's like a dream. I have to open that server, okay? It's a bad dream, to be honest. But when I started my career, it was a very good product at that point of time, right? It's the same concept. With technology, with changes, they have adapted it very, very fast. There were two common issues which I'm sure you must have encountered previously. One is the server is slow when it was an on-prem server.
correct.
It's slow. It's very common saying it's slow because the major reason was nobody was managing as per infra, right? I mean, even a mid-sized company, they have to manage the infra. Now, migrating to a SaaS product, Microsoft is doing everything on behalf of them, correct? I have seen very less companies previously who were having like the infrastructure in terms of production server, dev server, test or sandbox server, then disaster recovery server, right? Very less. I mean, I would say 1 out of 100 probably, right? Maximum companies were having 2 servers, one for dev and UAT and another for production. Maximum companies when it was on-prem. But I would say Microsoft, I mean, hats off to Microsoft. They have changed that vision. They were bold enough to take that decision that we will migrate to a scenario where you cannot change anything on the production server. I have seen people opening the SQL and getting the reports from the production server directly. And by mistake, they deleted something. Now what to do?
Yeah.
So they envisioned that. They realized that, okay, this is the future. This we should adapt. And coming on to the Dataverse, like this previous name was CDS, Common Data Source or Common Data Model, now Dataverse. So Power BI, for example, right? Microsoft Fabric, all the data or email. Now everything is getting stored on Dataverse. So integrations has become very, very easy. Previously it was, if one is using a Dynamic 365 CRM,
Multiple
right?
things
So if I'm
are
using, let's say Dynamic 365 CRM and AX 2012, I have to write a code to integrate that. Right?
Correct.
Now it is all out of the box, just a connector, which again Microsoft has built. Even if you have done any custom codes, this is minor of the customization.
Yes.
So they have streamlined it very, very well, very planned way. Coming to the Copilot, I think that is going to change the history soon. I mean, I see it very, very differently. The data, the report, the analytics, everything is getting, I mean, in next 1 year, probably with FinOps specifically, I think it is going to bombard the scenario in terms of AI. System will do many things which we were expecting, this can happen, this might have happened. But probably in next 1 year, I think we are going to see, like I'll take an example of Business Central. They have one feature for analysis views.
Yes.
On every page by default on the Copilot, just let's say it's a vendor page,
Put
vendor
your
list
comment
page.
and then
I'll just type my comment, it will give me a report.
Correct.
Oh my God, I spent years to create that. I mean,
Report. Yeah.
let's say you have to download that data into Excel. Once you download that data into Excel, you have to do your pivoting, and then next time whenever the data is updated, you have to do it again.
Excel is in your Dynamics. In
Oh,
front.
Excel is inbuilt in Dynamics by
Inbuilt
default.
Dynamics.
And the best part is through Copilot. I do not have to be technical. I do not have to learn even the Excel.
Just you need to prompt.
Prompt. You should know what to type, right? That's it. Nothing else.
That's
So
good.
that feature I personally am missing in FinOps.
Hmm.
That is very, very good feature if you ask me. But I think that will come very, very soon in Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain Management as well. So Copilot is going to change the shape and it will take the ERP, specifically Business Central, CRM and FinOps to the next level, 100%.
Okay. So as an implementer, like when you feel this is a successful implementation?
Oh, okay. So see, if you ask me, my perspective is different. Until unless customer says it is successful, it is not, if you ask me. Okay. And you know, at the end of the implementation, you know what went wrong, if anything went wrong. I always say to my team, have that courage. If something went wrong, have that courage. Okay, I think we can improvise this.
Correct.
Go to customer, talk to customer, whatever. See, nobody, if you ask me, if I want to streamline a process, either me or my team or customer's team, nobody is much bothered about how much cost it will take, how much effort it will take.
Yes.
If they see the output is coming, if they see the result will come, if they see it will increase my efficiency, it will reduce my future effort, everybody is ready to pay.
Correct.
The whole idea is the thought process, right? If something went wrong, take the ownership, take the courage. I mean, have that courage, go to customer, speak to them, get it rectified, which is okay.
Yeah, that's the reason I always recommend to my team that do the system audit on a quarterly
Absolutely.
basis. Okay, so
Absolutely.
that if anything is wrong or anything we need to improve it, okay, so that we have a space where we can improve it. If the customer is not using such kind of functionality, at least they can start using it.
Correct.
And give them the training. So that's give the confidence to the customer as well.
That's the role of the consultant, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, AI can do everything right.
That's correct. So thank you, Vijay, for coming and joining us and talk about more into the implementation side, as a consulting side, as a implementer side. Okay, because I have seen you have very good experience in all the areas. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Chartered Accountant CA Vijay. Thanks for the coming, and hopefully we will discuss more in coming podcast as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jitendra. Thanks for inviting me to the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Good day. Bye-bye.